back. What have we got today? Some sort of coffin? It could be. It's big enough. Well, actually, it's not a coffin. To your surprise, I'm sure. Yeah. What it is, yeah, it's a guitar case with a guitar inside. So let's take a closer look at what's in here. Well, I can see what's going on inside. Oh, you can't. I'm going to pull this thing out so you can have a really good look. And then we'll get down to the nitty gritty of this video, and it might shock you somewhat, so be prepared. Okay, well, it might look really good from where you're sitting. Oh, look, I've got ears. No, it's my friendly owl. I've got some of his friends on here. Yeah, well, it might look great, and it certainly does look great, and it's one of the reasons I bought it, plus a number of other things. So let's just flip it up on end so you can have a quick look at what it really looks like. And there it is. It's one of them PRS things. Now, hey, listen, I'm not some person who doesn't like PRS. I'm one of the protagonists for PRS. I actually like PRS. In fact, I've had probably over $100,000 worth of guitars made by PRS in my lifetime. So you could say, yeah, he likes them. Yeah, this one's it's an SE model, and the model is an A50EVS. Sounds good. It sure looks good. Look at that. And if I was to show you round the back, oh my God. Let's get that light out of the way. It looks even better. I think you must agree. It's a looker. Oh, me. The guitar. Now look, I'm not some person that plays acoustic guitars by the hour. But I've got simulators and things like that. But I really wanted to get a decent guitar for a reasonably low cost. I don't want to say decent, I mean playable. You know, average Joe playable. Guess that's what I am with an acoustic. Yeah, so I bought this one from Thomann. You heard of Thomann? Over in Europe. And they've got Thomann/UK these days. And they've got a UK VAT number. But I won't explain all that, it's not necessary. So I paid me money. I paid about £666 for this one. Now listen, if ever there was an omen, that's it right there. It's fair to say that the evil owl up there could be called an omen. Or you could have gone and watched the old films, you know, The Omen and The Omen 2 and so on, with the 360s behind his ears. I've looked everywhere through this guitar for those 360s, and the only place I could find them was on the Thomann website for the price $666. Like I said, it must have been some sort of omen. Well, Tony, what are you talking about? Well, sometimes things just are not to be. And this is a case in question. I don't really like making this particular video, but I'm going to because I think I should. Because I think it shows you how customers can be treated. Whether it's from the seller or via the manufacturer, because which ultimately, if you think about a brand guitar, surely the brand has to be the liability if things go wrong. It's something that not a lot of people think about. As it's arrived, I'm going to take you through it, and I'm smiling because it's just, I don't know, even somebody who knows nothing about a guitar would reject this guitar. And I can tell you now, before we go through it, you are going to reject it too. When I show you what a great guitar it is, and what I've actually received from what I thought I was going to get, you could be, well, shocked. Who do I blame? Well, blame doesn't really apportion to anybody except, first of all, to Thomann for selling the damn thing as it is and sending it from away from somewhere like Germany to the UK, with all the problems that includes. And then you've got the aspect of quote, sending it back. More about that later, because that's in the throes. And then you've got to go a step further back than that. And I can't really go and point the finger at China. What I have to point the finger at is PRS. It's got their brand on the top. PRS are responsible for the quality of this guitar, for the design of this guitar, and for everything else. And if PRS subcontract this guitar to a third party, which they might well have, when the third party gets it wrong, well, listen, in business, for example, you can't delegate something without carrying the responsibility for when it goes wrong by the person you delegated it to. It's just one of those, well, management rules that exists. And I don't think this is any different. If I go and delegate making this guitar to a third-party company, ultimately I'm responsible when it goes wrong. So think about that, and let's get in close and let me show you the first thing I found. Well, it was the second thing I found, but we're doing a little bit of a reverse order. It's not hyper bad, but it's bad enough for me to send this thing back. And that's pretty serious stuff. Now around this nut here, although you can't really see it with this particular camera, I'm going to take some real close-up shots and show you this nut, because that's the first problem. Yeah, and it's quite not acceptable, I have to say. Looking at this here, well, you'd expect to see that on some sort of second-hand guitar. Yeah, if you take a closer look there now, on screen, you can see that those first two strings have been padded out with paper. And although this is a Paul Reed Smith SE model, look, it doesn't give it a right to be, well, to be bodged with paper in the nut to try and stop the strings from rattling. Surely it's a proper way of doing things is to have a nut that doesn't need that. I don't know why it's like that, but I've got my own guess, let's put it that way. So the first problem is the nut and this horrible, horrible situation that we see ourselves in with this particular guitar. It's very sad. It's concerning. But let's move on, because I want to show you the other bit. Okay, well, I've set this up as best I can just to show you some of this that's going on here. I think I'll start on the 6th string first, or the 1st string, depending where you come from. And tell me if you like the tone of this. You ready? Yeah, you heard right. Those are not the right tones. I gave up when he reached the body. So let's try the 2nd string. I'm taking these all the way up to the 15th fret. Okay, so let's try the next string. Sooner or later it's going to work. That's the 11th fret. So it works and it doesn't. Let's move down to the 4th string. Hear it? So even that string's got some problems with it. Well, I'm moving down to the 5th string. Okay, you can get away with the 5th string. Well, let's have a look at the fat string, the 6th string. It's almost like a dual tone, isn't it? Hear that? So you could get away with the 5th and 6th string, but all the rest of these strings down here, well, to be honest, it's not a serviceable guitar. Now then, I'm going to play this guitar just with its strings up the neck, and you get probably a better idea of where we're at. And that, my friends, is how it's sent out from a major distributor and even from the manufacturer, I guess. I don't think it's fixed itself like that, particularly with the paper under the grooves in the nut, which is just ridiculous. Here's the 2nd string. Hear it now. Unbelievable. Whoops. And it comes back about there. Next string. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. It's gone. 5th string. And the 6th string we know works. If you strum it, it didn't sound too bad. But it wouldn't, would it? You've seen enough, haven't you? Now honestly, this is such a wonderfully looking guitar. If this thing worked properly, it'd be a great guitar. The few strings that work, well, have a good tone to them and all the rest of it. The action is currently not very good. The nut, well, that should be thrown away. It even seems to me, on this particular guitar, that it's almost second hand. And I say that because I can see colouring. You know where you get this colouring on the strings when they've been used? Well, it's either colouring or rust, because this guitar was made in 03/2021, which is sat on the shelf somewhere for a year or 9 months, or I can't tell you. But one of the things I can tell you is this is the second guitar that I've bought from Thomann that was a reasonable price guitar. In fact, they're the only guitars I've ever bought from Thomann. And it's turned out to be absolute junk as it stands. as supplied. Let me put it that way. Oh sure, I can go and spend hours on end putting it right. I can do that. I could do that. But I don't think that that's right. I bought this guitar to show a genuine review. And you know what? They didn't single me out to send this one. This could be you. Well, I really wanted this guitar to be brilliant. I didn't get brilliance. I got, well, basically a mess. Sure, it's an SE. What do I expect? I can hear some of them now. Well, what I expect is to pay the money and get exactly what Paul Smith intended to sell. Not if he intended to sell, well, junk. Great, I got what he wanted. But Paul Smith isn't like that. He's one of them guys, he's a perfectionist. So, was it Paul Smith? Well, it wasn't him personally. Was it Thomann who didn't bother to check the guitar before they shipped it? Probably 1,000 miles. Ask yourself that one. Or has this guitar previously been sold to someone else and then it's been sent back, repackaged and sold to me as brand new? It wasn't sold to me as a used guitar or anything like that. It's a nightmare. But I wanted to make this video just before it goes back. And by the way, I only received this guitar today at about 2 o'clock or something like that. It's 8 o'clock at night now. And I felt so strong that I should make this video and just show people what I received. Because it could well have been you, or your son, or a grandson, or this, or that, who can ill afford to have any of this aggravation. That's what you need to consider when you watch this video. And if the people involved in the selling of this product, whether it be the manufacturer, whether it be Thomann or anybody else, wants to tell me I'm wrong, feel free, because I'm not wrong. That's how it came. That's what you supplied, with paper under the nut, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. Anyway, I'll leave you with it for now to think about it. Well, what happened from there? Let me get you up to speed. Well, this is a tale of two guitars. What do I mean? Well, I had the Angelus, the PRS SE Angelus A50 something or other, as you saw, just. Ultimately, I contacted Thomann and I sent it back. It was in such an appalling state for a brand new instrument, as they called it. And I couldn't take any more of that. Well, there is a change to this story now. From this point on, it's all going to be good. So you can think of the first half that you've just seen as bad, really bad. But you can think of the second half as being really good. And something that you don't see really that often. But maybe it's not necessary that often. Who knows? All I can tell you is my experience. My experience is quite extensive regarding this particular problem. Well, ultimately, I do know one or two different people out in the music business. And one of those people is a representative of PRS. Yeah. His name, I think he's spelled Jez Asco. At least that's how I say his name. Excuse me, Jez, if I get that wrong, but anybody who knows him will know him, and anybody who doesn't probably won't, unless you go to some of the shows, and there he is on the PRS stand, certainly within the UK. So he's a guy to look out for, very friendly as well. Now, I hadn't spoken to Jez for, well, it had been well over 2 years. With the Corona thing and all the rest of it flying by, passing away years out of everybody's life. I thought to myself, I wonder if he's okay. So I sent an email and I got no reply. And to be honest, it was a little bit concerning because he's a likeable guy. Anyway, I then contacted PRS Europe, who forwarded the email, and eventually I got hold of Jez and I said, hey, what's going on? Oh, it's been all the stuff that goes on in the music business, type of thing. But I then explained to him what you've just seen on the previous section of this video. And he was dumbfounded. He said, well, that's terrible. What are you doing now? I said, well, I'm trying to get a PRS SE Angelus that I can actually review. I don't want to make a video that, well, to be honest, slags off PRS, because I don't think PRS deserved it. In the back of my mind, there were other things going on. So cutting a long story short, Jess said, well, let me get one sent out to a dealer. I went to Sound Effects, operated by a man named Tim. Great guy. So they got one organised between them, and it was a PRS SE A50E, which was the next model up. I still paid for it. Just trust me. Paid a great price, but I still paid for it. And it wasn't at cost. So there. All the specs are slightly different and things like that. But overall, it's still a PRS SE Angelus guitar, made in the Far East somewhere, and I don't really care where. I'm only here to take a close personal look at the guitar I've bought and how good it is, which is what I wanted to do with that original from Thomann. Well, as you can see, it comes in a very similar coffin to the one that I had before with the other guitar, except that this coffin, we'll call it that, yeah, it's a hard case. It looks pretty much almost identical to the one I received with the A50, except that this one is perfect. It's perfect, exactly what I expected. So I'm going to get this guitar out so we can start taking a look at what's really here and what I actually got for the money. Yeah, you've seen the bad earlier on. Let's take a look at the good. Well, here it is in all its glory. Unlike the other one that was in all its glory, this one is completely different. It's, well, it's perfect. And you're going to see that now. And we're going to talk about the specifications and one or two other things. And then, hopefully, I'll be able to play a chord. We'll get to that. I'm not the best acoustic player. I'm not even the best customer for an acoustic guitar. But that's okay. It's the review that matters, isn't it? Not my playing. A million people will show you it being played, but I'm showing you the guitar, and there's a very subtle difference. So let's have a look just physically around it from the off. And one of the first things about this is you can notice that it's got a solid spruce top. The other one had a bit of tinting around it, but I'm not too worried about that. Yeah, solid spruce. It's none of the sort of veneers and stuff like that, they say. It does look like solid spruce, which I'm happy with. And if we whip around the back and sides, you can see straight away the sides are not the they're not the maple that was on the previous guitar. These are called, I think, Ziricoti. Yeah, and it's got a sort of maple binding, which I really like the maple binding. More of that later. And around the back, you can see again, you can see the, look at the lights. My God, this is like a mirror. There it is, the Ziricoti back. Good word that, ain't it? Yeah. It's a bit like Evil Owl. It's not the story. Yeah, but you can see, honestly, it's absolutely faultless. All of these little, you know, these maple finishes, like I said, and the little maple bit on the end there, it's all good. There's nothing not to like. Of course, down around the back, we've got where the battery goes, because it can be plugged in. There it is. If you can see, yeah, you can. And we've got a strap fastener there. And another one, slightly strange to me, but there it is, on the neck. This is a very well finished neck. Very well finished. Remember what the other one was like? This one, it's completely different, completely different. This is exactly what I expected from PRS, whether it's an SE or whether it isn't, for an acoustic guitar. Now with these two woods, PRS harp on about, well, what do they say? Let's have a look. They say it's got a full bottom end with rolled off highs, reminiscent of some vintage acoustic guitars. Reminds me of the wife as well. Funny enough, she's vintage too. Let's offer you a few specifications, and I've got to read them because I don't know any more than you do. Here we are. Yeah, the body, as I've said, it's Sitka spruce, solid that is. It's Ziricoti middle wood and backwood. The body shape is Angelus cutaway. There's the cutaway, all very nice. I like guitars like that. Talk about that a bit later too. On the body depth at the neck block, it's 3 1932s, and the tail block it's 4 3/8, all in American measurements, of course. Now, I know people harp on about bracing a lot. Go and ask Taylor about that. They'll get you up to speed with all that. This one says here that it's PRS hybrid X/classical bracing. Sounds good. Body purflings abalone, body bindings curly maple, which I showed you, and the rosette is black abalone. All very nice. This guitar's got a 25.3 scale length, and it's got 20 frets up to here, which is nice. It's mahogany neckwood, which you're going to see, and in PRS's standard phrasing, it's wide and fat on the neck. The string spacing's at 2 7/32, and they say here the fretboard wood is ebony with curly maple binding, and sure enough it is, down the edge. All very nice. The inlays, we're going to look at all this stuff closer by the way. The inlays are abalone birds, so you're getting decent work here for a sort of budget price really. The radius, by the way, is 11.81 inches. It's got an adjustable truss rod. Well, actually, it's at this end, down the top of the neck. It's got the neck depth at the nut is 7/8 of an inch. And even as I talk, this is resonating. Quite incredible. The width of the fretboard at the body is 2 9/32. And the width of the fretboard at the nut is 1 11/16. And by the way, it's a real bone nut, not one of these plastic things that you see, well, all too often these days. So let's turn a little bit to the bridge. The bridge here, they say, is ebony, and it certainly looks like ebony to me too, so highly likely it is. Yeah, the tuner's a PRS designed, but notice it doesn't say PRS made, it says PRS designed, and that's where you sort of get your savings coming in my opinion. It's only my opinion. The saddle down here at the bridge is made of bone as well. It doesn't say what sort of bone. But the strings it comes with, as standard, are 12 to 53s. Now, a lot of those acoustic players, they're like that. They love these big fat strings. Me, on the other hand, I've got weedly little fingers. I couldn't handle 12 to 53s, so they're going to come off at some stage. And you know, I love the fact that you get a guitar like this. It's absolutely, honestly, it's flawless. And you get a hard case with it as well. A lot of guitars just don't have hard cases. Even the previous guitar, the quote bad guitar, had a hard shell case. And well, you can spend £100 easily on a hard shell case. Take £100 off the price of whatever you pay for your guitar, and these things are getting really, really low cost. And this one, well, it isn't affecting the quality. Something to think about. Now, I did show you the battery down the back, and that's for a Fishman, it says down here, a PRS voiced Fishman Sonitone. I've never heard of them because I'm not an acoustic guy, but you people who've seen that stuff will. Yeah, PRS voiced Fishman Sonitone with sound or mounting volume and tone controls right under there. Now the spec sheet I've got here starts harping on from guitar player and acoustic guitar, and who else we got on here? Who are these other guys? Well, all I can say to them guys is they didn't get the first guitar out of this video, did they? None of them. And I wonder what they'd have done had they got that. Would they have actually told anyone? Anyway, more onto this. Let's take a closer look at what we've got by way of quality and finish and all the other good stuff on this A50E. Okay, well, taking a look at the neck itself, you can see that there's the binding around the edges. And by the way, I don't know if you can actually hear that. Listen. You might hear it droning in the background, and that's just from me talking. It goes off into that sound hole and the guitar resonates. It's quite incredible really. I haven't seen many guitars that actually do that. I used to have a Taylor, but more about that later. But there you go. Yeah, so there's the binding around the neck. All very nice indeed. And the inserts, or the inlays. And the inlays, to me, they're absolutely, well, there's very, very tiny amounts of filler around them, but to be saying that's picky, yeah, that'd be an understatement. They do a great job, and unfortunately they don't have the evil owl insert that they do on the 24th fret, because there isn't a 24th fret. Oh, no owl, fancy that. You ought to put one on just for me. Anyway, moving on, let's take a look at the frets themselves. Well, the fret ends are nigh on perfect. I don't feel any aggro with any of that. They do look absolutely spot on. Whoever's done this work on this Angelus knew what they were doing, there's no question to that. And I like the fretboard too, that's particularly nice. Moving along to the nut, as we said earlier, it's a bone nut, and you can see it's cut absolutely perfect. If you remember that other one, maybe I'll put a little picture up in the corner somewhere and show you, just remind you of that previous nut that came from Thomann, yeah, on the A50. Yeah, this one's perfect, and there's nothing to knock or criticise whatsoever with that. Again, moving along to the headstock itself, you've got the binding around the headstock. It's very nice, and yeah, it just gives the guitar a feel of quality. And of course the binding is perfect. Again, whoever's done it, they've done a great job. I don't know why some people don't like the PRS SE acoustics, because some don't. I've seen the words kicking around the internet, but I don't know, this one, maybe they got the earlier model, that thing that I sent back, and with some dealers like that, well, that needs resolving, doesn't it? More later. So you proudly get Paul Reed Smith's signature, not a real signature of course, and underneath that tiny SE letters. They ought to dump the SE letters really. What do you want them for? As you can see, we've got a truss rod cover, looks like a standard cover, and I'm almost sure that you could take a PRS real one and fit it on there. In fact, I know you could. I have no doubt I'll do that at some stage. Why? Well, because I can. Well, there's the thing round the back. The thing a lot of people don't particularly like is this little, well, lithograph on the back that says built by Cortec Musical Instrument Company Limited, China, under license for PRS guitars, CTC, and then some sort of form of serial number, I guess. It also has the CE UK CA markings, which by the end of 22, by the way, have to be on everything. And if you're buying equipment after the end of this year, coming into the UK, or some of its contributory territories like Ireland, Northern Ireland, and some other places, then those products would be deemed as illegal, just in case you didn't know. Anyway, looking at the tuners first, these are PRS design tuners, but of course, well, they're not PRS tuners, are they? They're not quite the same. They don't feel quite the same, although there's nothing really wrong with them, and the accuracy's there and all the rest. So, well, what is there to not like? Well, not much about them really. I think they're all right. Looking at the back of the neck itself, you can see that it's a mahogany neck, and it's even got that sort of ribboning down it in one or two places if you look careful on the overall neck. Very nice indeed. I like to see that sort of stuff. It shows that you're getting at least reasonably pretty decent wood. Now, still looking at this A50E, if you look at the body end of the neck, you can see that it's made actually of two pieces of wood, and that's very common these days, particularly on Far Eastern guitars or anywhere around that area where they tend to be made. You can see the join there, but it's a particularly good join, but it does stand out a little bit. I suppose most acoustics would be like that, because otherwise you'd be carving away a sort of 4 or 5 inch piece of mahogany, which would be a bit, well, wasteful, that's the word. Now I can talk about the Zerikoti sides and the sort of maple trimmings around it. I have to say, they're perfect, nothing stands out. You know when you get, I don't know if you do know, but a lot of, for example, Gibson Les Pauls have binding around the edge, and some of it isn't cut particularly flush with the body and stuff like that. This one is absolutely perfect. Perfect all the way around. It's dead flush, it looks perfect and is perfect. And even the little joins where that purfling, well, I'll call it purfling, I don't know what they call it. Yeah, that stuff around the edge where it connects to the other piece that's gone all the way around the body. Again, it's a sort of perfect fit. Oh my God, the evil owl is reflected in the body. Look, it's looking at you twice. That's awesome. Yeah, awesome. Anyway, here's the back of the body. I'll probably be showing you other pictures other than just the back like this, and covering most of the things that we covered up to now. Well, the figuring on the Zerikoti is absolutely awesome. That's what I would say. It's actually faultless. It is absolutely perfect. I love to see that, particularly when you've got a guitar like this that's not the most expensive guitar in the world, and you get a great job like that. That's something to shout about, and that's what I'm doing, shouting about it, because you don't see this all the time. How good's that? The binding down the middle of this abalone is, well, it's perfect, absolutely perfect. It goes right to the top and the bottom of the back, and it's inlaid perfectly. It's just a fabulous looking guitar. And what I am going to do, well, I'm going to try and do, you might see it, you might not, is I'm going to try and have a look inside there, the bracing behind this top. That's what all the acoustic boys love. They love to get into the sort of bracing and, oh, this one does this and that one does that. Well, to me, it's just an acoustic guitar. I'm a rock player, really, you know, a solid guitar player. But I'll see if I can do that. If I can't, well, at least I tried. Hold on. Okay, well, as you can see on that picture there, I've sort of been down inside, and that's not an easy thing to do either. But you can see over the back part of this this top, you can see the sort of fanned out bracing that they talk about, and the X brace somewhere around here. And in front of that there's a little cross piece and that sort of stuff. It's all very interesting stuff, and I'm sure that the acoustic boys out there will be loving to see that sort of thing. For me, well, it's just another part of the guitar. Yeah, I'm sure it does make a difference, but how much difference? Well, you know, I think a lot of acoustic guys, they like, excuse me if you don't agree, that's okay. It's just a personal opinion, remember that. I think they're a bit like audiophiles. They always hear things that I never could. And that's probably because I used to be standing in front of big loud guitar stacks back in the day. Yeah, what you say? Okay, well, taking a closer look like that actually shows you all about this guitar and exactly what you get for the money. So let's talk about price for a few seconds, and what would you pay for one of these? Well, they vary in the marketplace quite a lot actually, and in England, I can only speak about England because they try and hide the prices in America off the internet by checking your IPs and things like that. Well, that's another story. The cheapest I've seen is about 650, and they go up to about 995. So anything in between. And I think the sort of £800-ish or 750 is the sort of area where you're going to get one of these A60As. The A50A that was in the first part, the bad guitar, that cost me, as I said at the time, £666 for not that much more. You can have one like this. Well, take your pick. It depends where you're going to buy it from, I think. But we'll come back to that. So what about warranty? Well, warranty's a funny thing when it comes down to having a look around the internet and finding warranty on the PRS SE Angelus series. There's a few different models and there's some limited editions and things like that. And from what I see, the warranty seems to be, I could be corrected, and if I do get corrected by Jez, my friend, I'll put it down below on what the warranty actually is, but it seems to be from 3 years to a limited lifetime warranty on one of these, on this series of SE guitars. Well, whichever one it is, it's a pretty fair warranty, that is. You know, a lot of stuff out there doesn't get that sort of length of time, and even if it only had a 1 year warranty, it'd still be a pretty good deal actually, especially the way that this thing's been finished and all the rest of it. So is there anything to not like on this particular guitar? Well, to be honest, no, except there's always an exception, but it's just a personal preference, and the strings that it comes with, to me, are like cheese graters. 12 to 50 something or other I mentioned earlier. Man, I can't live with them, so they're going to have to be changed, and if they don't get changed, the evil owl will be paying a visit. But apart from that, to be honest, it's resonating again right now. To be honest, it's perfect. I found not a single fault on this guitar. So I'm afraid for this one, my score out of 10 will be 10. Oh, the first guitar, well, that was a 0. That should never have left the dealer, at the very least. And more on that later. So let's digress for a second or two and talk about if you're going to buy one of these. I can hear this resonate. I can't stop it doing it. Now, it might be on the camera or it might not, but I don't really want to sit there with my hand on that. Let's okay, well, I've temporarily stopped it resonating because I'm sure it can be picked up by the microphone, and I don't really want that right now. That's incredible how it does that. Well, let's go back to the guitar and my experience between Mr. Bad, the first one, and Mr. Good, the second one. Yeah, there's some moral to be learned there, because to be honest, I don't think that Paul Smith let that guitar, that first one, out as it was. I think it came in a far superior condition than that. I can't prove that, but I think that's the case. And partly, this here in front of me is really saying that. So the moral is really, to be absolutely honest, Sound Effects, a UK dealer, bothered to check the guitar out, and I received what I should have done. But thanks for Jez as well, because Jez probably went through and said, oh, send him this one. Or not, but he probably did. So the thing is, the moral of the story is, if you go to some dealer that doesn't do his job of vetting a product before it's shipped out the door, and they can all tell me we haven't got the time to check them. Well, they're making the money to check them. They should have the time to check them. They should be doing something for that money that a dealer makes. And indeed, in the case of Sound Effects, that's exactly what he did. He did the right thing. But in the case of Thomann, for that A50 guitar, it was atrocious, and it was pretty clear to me, whether I said it or not, that somebody had had a go at that guitar on a number of ways. It was really bad condition and should never have left anywhere, and this guitar proves that dealer 2 outshines dealer 1 by 100%. I'm not just saying that, by 100%, because dealer 2 cared and dealer 1 didn't, like I said in part 1. I'll tell you where it leaves you. You want to deal with a dealer that you know and you trust. And trust is a very difficult thing to build up, but to be honest, I've dealt with sound effects quite a number of times and I've never had any real problems. The thing that attracted me to Thomann at the time, because basically I didn't know any better, was, oh yeah, we give you an extended 3-year warranty, they said. And look at the price. 666, oh my God. Even thinking about it, that was so funny. This video's gone on and on and on, but honestly, the moral in the story is glaring you in the face. If you're not prepared to pay the extra little bit of money, well, you end up with a Chinese product that's a Chinese product. And if you're prepared to pay that extra bit of money, where the dealer actually does his job and everything gets carried forward properly, then you end up a Chinese product that actually seems like an American product. And that's what this one does. It seems like a far better guitar than what it might be. I can't see anything wrong with it. Doesn't mean a bean. You know, acoustic players have their own thing, and I'm not here to tell anybody what's good, bad or indifferent. You all have your own view. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I used to own a Taylor 614 CE that cost a fortune. It was well over 2,000 quid at the time. And that's why I don't own it today, because I'm not really an acoustic player. I sold it. I used it a few times and sold it. It just wasn't worth the money to me. It might be to you. Was it better than this? And I'm using this carefully. Was it actually better than this? Well, I hate to say it, but it wasn't. In fact, it was very similar. It was very similar. So would I have bought another Taylor 614 CE? No. It looked great, it felt great, it had a great case, but heavier than that one, funny enough. But other than that, in many ways, very similar. Very similar. Yeah. That's not decrying Taylor. That's actually saying that this PRS Angelus is up there with the rest. And bearing in mind it's an SE. Now you might also say that, well, the PRS Angelus that isn't an SE is great too. But there are levels of greatness, and I think you've got to, it's a bit like the audiophile. For the actual amount of gain, for me, I certainly wouldn't be paying the difference. Some people would. Not on this, I wouldn't. That's just no use to me. Anyway, interesting conclusions, huh? Once again, I want to thank Jez Aceco, I think that's how his name, and also Tim at Sound Effects, yeah, who also did a great job. Yeah, so little else to say. I'm going to play a few chords and things, nothing special out of me. Don't expect any finger style. That's my style there. Look, what do you think? There's none of that. Go and look elsewhere, I guess, if you want to see real acoustic players. Otherwise, you've got me. Hope this has been an interesting video. It started out wanting to be brilliant and wasn't, but it ended up being absolutely brilliant when PRS found out about, that guitar that was sent to me and all the rest of it. It says a lot about PRS and the support in the UK, I might add, and the dealers that actually care. Don't forget to visit www.tonymackenzie.com if you get a chance or you get the time. Or there's lots of reviews on there that aren't on YouTube. This is my 380th video of reviews and that sort of thing, which is quite amazing. 380. Yeah, I'm getting old now, but don't let it stop you watching, because there's something to be learned in this video for sure. So until next time, get out of here. Okay, just a short example with it plugged in. It's yeah, it's going through an amp clean and all set flat and that sort of thing, you know. So here he is.